wasn't here last time. I'm Christy Howe. I'm the Employment First Lead with DHS, and I will introduce Olivia and Nate from the ARC's Peer Mentorship Program, Peer-to-Peer Mentor Program. And I won't say a whole lot. I'll just hand it off and let you guys tell us what you do. Thanks for joining. I'm pretty excited to hear more.
Yeah, great. Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here. So my name's Olivia Lape, and I am the Peer-to-Peer Mentor Program Manager at the ARC Minnesota. And I'll pass it over to you, Nate, real quick.
So I'm Nate Clark, and I'm a peer mentor, and I help people find jobs out in the community outside of the shelter workshops.
Awesome. Thanks, Nate. And so we'll be doing a PowerPoint presentation, and I'll start off by just explaining the program, how it works, the ins and outs, that sort of thing. And then we'll end by hearing from Nate, his story, and open up to questions and see what you all have to ask. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and let's see. Okay, I am not used to Teams, so if something goes awry, please let me know. But hopefully you all can just see the one introduction slide there. So like I said, it's a peer-to-peer mentor program. It's a long name. A lot of times we say peer mentor program. And this is a program that is funded through MTI, or Minnesota Transformation Initiative, which is a DHS initiative to help increase employment outcomes for people with disabilities and build capacity for competitive integrated employment. So I'll start off with the purpose. So there are really two main purposes to this program. One is to help individuals and their support networks explore competitive integrated employment. So employment out in the community where someone's making at least minimum wage or higher, and also other job options. So we also help people think about things like volunteering and how to get work experience, those sorts of things. And the second one is to help advance the leadership of Minnesotans with disabilities around employment. As you'll see going through these slides and hearing from Nate, the focus is really on connecting people with disabilities with other people with disabilities, having their voices amplified, that sort of thing. So that's another big aim of the program here. Okay. So who do we work with? Simply just about anyone, but I'll sort of go through the list here and explain how each different one might work. So we work with individuals, so anyone can reach out to the ARC or me or talk to a peer mentor and get connected with the program. It's a free program. We also work with families and professionals. So you'll see later we have a family mentoring side of the program. We also do presentations like this with professionals. We're really working on getting connected with schools and transition age students, since that's a really natural time in someone's life when they're thinking about employment. And then we also work with a lot of different organizations, some that have transitioned away from sub-minimum wages and are looking to support their clients in sort of this new phase or thinking about what they might want to do now. And then we also work with organizations that still have a 14C certificate. So we really just want to be able to support anyone who wants to learn about job options, think about what might be a good fit for them, and maybe get connected with a mentor. And so I've been saying the word peer mentor a lot. So what does that mean? So really simply, a peer mentor is just someone with a disability who's competitively employed in the community. And their role is a really unique role because it is different from a job coach and a lot of other formal supports that people will get. And that's pretty intentional. I think it fills a really unique role. So one of the main things that peer mentors aim to do is to inform. So peer mentors come on meetings like this or meet with someone and share their own employment story. And just by way of sharing what they're doing, how they found their job, they might open up someone's mind to Like we have a peer mentor who is in music and does DJing, and someone might not have even thought that they could use their musical talent to find a job. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, that's a whole new pathway open to me. So that's a way that they can sort of help people think about different jobs. Also, encouragement. Looking for a job is hard for anyone and can be really discouraging at times. I think, going to multiple interviews and doing something new can be scary. So we want peer mentors to be there to just help encourage someone and be there to listen and hear from the person about their struggles or maybe even what went well. A lot of times people want to share their successes as well. And then the last part of peer mentoring is that all of our peer mentors are trained on how to share basic supports. So again, like I said, peer mentors aren't job coaches. They're not affiliated with any other organization other than the ARC. So when people come to them with questions like, how do I get a job coach, or how do I keep my benefits while I work, or any of those sorts of questions that are really valid and a big part of finding employment, the peer mentors are able to let them know, hey, I can't help you with that, or I'm not really sure, I'll tell you what I did, but there's this really great resource. For instance, Disability Hub is a resource we use a lot that's great, that has a lot of information on benefits, employment, housing. And so we're able to direct them to someone who will be able to help. And then in terms of once someone gets connected with a mentor, what sort of topics do we explore in the program and presentations that we might do, or if someone's meeting with a mentor one-on-one? It's really anything that's employment related. We don't have any topics that we won't cover or haven't covered, but some of the main ones are applying to jobs is a really big one. So peer mentors can help someone look at job boards, maybe think about their strengths and match those to job descriptions. Disclosing your disability is a conversation that comes up a lot. When to do it, do I want to do it, how to do it, all of those questions. And it's a really nuanced conversation that doesn't have a right answer. And so I think it just highlights how great the program is because it connects people with someone who's been through that thought process before and has navigated that and might have some advice and be willing to listen and help as someone tries to figure out how to do that. Also, like I said before, how to access and use online employment tools. And then another big one that we do that people often want help with is interviewing preparation and practice. So, for instance, we've done mock interviews with people or even just help them write out questions that might be asked if they don't want to do a mock interview. Everyone has different styles. And to that different styles point, we really want this program to be tailored to the person we're working with or the group we're working with. And so we keep that in mind in the format, maybe even who the peer mentor is. We try and match mentors with people in their own area, things like that. Okay. And then again, we want this program to be as accessible and individualized as possible. And so one of the ways we do that is by providing peer mentorship in a variety of ways. So we have online meetings that are led by peer mentors, usually about monthly, and these are covering different topics, or it might just be, we also have them for the parent group, which you'll see later about more things like benefits. We also do small or large group meetings over Zoom or in person. So we've gone to schools and met with people, or we do maybe a Zoom presentation that a lot of people can log on to from anywhere, which has its benefits as well. We are working on creating different videos covering employment topics. And something that's really nice about our efforts with this is that the ARC is working on translating all of our employment materials and tools, videos included, into at least Somali, Hmong, and Spanish to make them more accessible, as well as with captioning in those languages. And there's another really great resource that the peer mentors just helped to create called the Employment Toolkit. That's just my coworker Taylor made it. It's fantastic. It's lots of pages, lots of different topics, but that's also going to be translated into multiple languages. And so I might send that out to maybe you, Cole, afterwards to include in the notes to send out because it's a great resource. And then another huge thing that we do is just one-on-one mentoring. So this might be meeting in person. Some people meet at the ARC office if they're located in St. Paul. It can be over the phone. Someone meets with their mentee once a week over the phone. Or maybe it's in person because like Nate connects with a lot of people at the different organizations he's involved with. So he might just see them at an event or something and decide to connect with them later and meet up or text or whatever it might be to give them support. So those are the topics and the ways we can meet with people. These are a lot of common questions we get about what does it actually look like to meet a mentor. I think sometimes it might sound like a big commitment or people are just unsure about it. And so I like to emphasize that it's really up to you how you would like the mentoring to go. So to get in contact, you can call me, send me an email. Um, Also, when you're meeting with mentors, like I said, you can meet over the phone, you can meet over Zoom or Teams or in person. And then in terms of length, it is varied. So some people meet once a week over the phone while they're looking for a job for a few months and really like that. Some people come to us and meet once and maybe they decide peer mentoring is not for them, which is also okay. Or maybe they just wanted to come in once and practice interviewing and then they get their job and they feel like they're okay and maybe they don't need to meet with a peer mentor anymore, and that's totally fine as well. And then also our sessions tend to last from about 30 minutes to an hour with someone. But again, this can vary depending. And then activities, I've touched on this a bit, but often we help people look for jobs online, practice interviewing. Like I mentioned before, the toolkit's a really wonderful resource that the mentors are using in their sessions, because there's a lot of good like worksheets and tools in there you can use with someone. And also a huge part of mentoring is just to check in and see how someone's doing, and offer that encouragement and support, like I mentioned earlier. Okay. And then just to highlight some of the importance of mentorship, that might have touched on a little bit in the previous slides, but really wanted to highlight is that this program is automatically a person-centered support. It is one, we're not tied to having to meet certain goals in every session or having to use certain curriculum or those sorts of things, which have their place. But this can really be just what that person needs at this meeting. Also, it's usually one-on-one or small group, which also helps it to be more person-centered and see exactly what that person wants to do and what their interests are, what sort of job they want. Another huge one is networking opportunities. So someone might meet with a mentor who lives in their own area, and the mentor can say, hey, I get a job at Hy-Vee, like where Nate works. You should apply there. I know the manager, and all of a sudden they're applying there, they get the job. And then it's really great because they can continue being mentored as they start their job, that sort of thing. Or maybe it's not even the place that the mentor works, but they mentors often have a good idea of what jobs are available in the area or what their friends have done, that sort of thing. It also helps to foster community and a sense of belonging. So it's just a great way for self-advocates to connect with one another. And along with that, through connecting and seeing what great advocates peer mentors are, they can grow their own advocacy skills and gain a sense of empowerment in their own ability to direct their decisions, their lives, finding a job, that sort of thing. Okay. And then not only are we offering mentoring, but we're always looking for more peer mentors. And so I like to put that out there because I'm sure some of you work with really awesome individuals who are already employed in the community and they might be interested in something like mentoring. And so the requirements are just that you have to be a person with a disability who's currently employed in the community. Um, you then, after you meet that requirement, I usually connect with someone briefly, like over the phone or Zoom or whatever is best for them, and discuss the program, hear their story, see if it might be a good fit for them. And from there, I invite them to attend a monthly mentor meeting. So all of our mentors meet with each other once a month to talk about things, hear how it's going for other mentors, things like that. And that just gives the individual a way to see how the program works and meet other mentors and really get a feel for if it might be a good fit for them. And then once they go through all of that and they're like, hey, I'm still pretty interested in being a mentor, then we go through some mentor trainings. And after that, our mentors are all involved in different ways. Some mentors, I have one peer mentor that does a lot of conferences with me and loves presenting and is great at that. Or I have mentors like Nate, who's really great at connecting with individuals one-on-one and mentoring. So it's pretty flexible. It's not a really rigid commitment for someone time-wise or event-wise, or like if you join, you don't necessarily have to present. So very flexible in that way. And then I also like to emphasize that peer mentors also receive a stipend for their time. So any time spent on the program, be that training, traveling, presentations like this, prepping for presentations on their own, maybe they get paid a $20 an hour stipend for that. And we just want to make sure that they're being paid for their time and expertise on this matter. So I like to highlight that because a lot of mentors really appreciate that part of the program. And then I see there's a note here in the chat. So it said, sorry if it was already mentioned, will this PowerPoint be sent out? I can send this to Cole, and I think maybe it can be put in your notes that he sends out. Yep. Awesome. Okay. So that's how to become a peer mentor. And then I'll go over briefly how does family mentoring work. It won't be too long because it's pretty similar to peer mentoring. So we have two different ways that we do family mentoring primarily right now. One is presentations, and these presentations tend to be more centered on, I guess, practical topics is one way I say it. So things like benefits, transportation, maybe what technology resources or supports are available for someone. And then also meetings. So right now, for instance, we have an ongoing monthly meeting with one of the organizations we work with. That's for family members, and they meet once a month. They talk about how it's going, supporting their loved one in employment, or maybe a huge part of family mentoring is having a safe space for families to voice their fears and concerns. We've heard from parents and families that a lot of times they don't want to voice their concerns because maybe they're worried about not looking like they believe in their child or being a bad parent, those sorts of things that just come up being a parent. And so being able to connect with other parents who can say, hey, I had that same concern, this is how I dealt with it, or like, that's totally a normal thing to think about, can be really helpful for people. And we do have family mentors. We're really working on growing to get more. But right now, our main family mentor is Carmen. And I just put this story of her to the side, which you can read when we send the slides out. But to summarize, she's really awesome. And she has 4 sons, 3 of whom have autism. And they're all in various places of employment and have various jobs they want to do. Really interesting. Like one of them really wants to be a train conductor, another's interested in DJing. And she's great because she talks about how she supported them, techniques they've used, what's worked well, what hasn't, but she's also very realistic in the challenges that they faced and some of the things they've had to work through in their employment journeys and figuring that out as well. So she's just a great resource for people. And this is the best part of the presentation, in my opinion. So who are peer mentors? So currently we have 10 peer mentors from across the state. So this is a statewide program open to anyone. And we mostly have peer mentors right now in the Twin Cities in the Southwest. We're working on expanding that. We do have some in mid-state, but again, even if someone is, say, up north, they can still meet with Nate down in the South through Zoom or phone. So it's not restricted in that way either. And each of our peer mentors has a variety of experiences and perspectives, which I think is great. And they, when there's a few of them in a meeting, you get to hear all sorts of opinions and different experiences. So for instance, Some of our mentors have experience in some minimum wage employment and then transitioning from that into the community. Some of our peer mentors went straight from high school into community employment. And some of them have done more interesting paths, right? So one of our peer mentors went from sub-minimum wage employment to community employment, decided she was not ready for that, went back to some community college classes to learn some career skills, then went back into the community. So I think it's just helpful for people to hear that there's not a right way to get employment, and there's all sorts of different strengths people have as well as obstacles and concerns. And so hearing a lot of different voices is helpful, I think. Like I said, peer mentors earn a stipend for their time. And then also peer mentors help to develop all materials and resources. So like I said, we really want to highlight the voices of the people most impacted. So when I meet with mentors, we create presentations like this. Usually a peer mentor is presenting with me at a conference or in these meetings. And so that's also a really big focus of the program. And then I will pass it over to you, Nate. If you just want to talk, you can read your slide or anything you want to share about your story or being a peer mentor.
Okay. So I'm Nate Clark, and I live in Mankato, Minnesota, and I've actually helped 3 people to get a job in the community. One of my friends down in the Mankato, 2 of my friends in the Mankato area. Her name is Brooke. I got her a job at Hy-Vee, and she really likes the job. She likes the hours that she gets, and she enjoy working at Hy-Vee. And also a friend of mine from Mike Hutchins from the Mankato area. I got him a job at Culver's, and he really enjoys the job. He only works 6 hours a week, earning $15 an hour. So that's a start for him, and he's super happy about that, getting income now. And then I helped a friend of mine, Jenny, and she's from up north. She lost her job, and then I got her a new job that she wants in life. And I started advocating myself with the help from my family and Life Work Services, and I was able to apply for a job at Hy-Vee and start my competitive employment journey. I love my job. I get the community, and I meet new people, help customers, and make a livable wage. Working in the community makes me feel good about myself. And before I worked in the community, I worked at a shelter workshop. And that was not a job I wanted the rest of my life. So I had to advocate for myself.
Thanks, Nate. And how long have you been a peer mentor now? I'm trying to remember. It's been a while.
5 years.
Yeah, I think I'm coming up on 4, maybe more. So Nate's been with us a while. And do you want to talk a little bit, Nate, about maybe what you do with your mentees when you meet with them?
Yeah, I meet them out in the community. Well, the 2 people I know in the Mankato area, I meet them out in the community because it's easier for me to do that in person. And then I meet with Jenny over the phone, and I'll send her a text and touch base with her, see how things are going.
Yeah, and do you help them look for jobs online, or does it vary from person to person what you're doing with each person?
Well, with my friend Brooke, I helped her apply for a job at Hy-Vee. I actually pulled up HyVeeCareers.com, and I saw there was an opening for her as a courtesy clerk. And then I sent that over to her, and then she applied. And then for Mike, we talked about it over the phone, and we talked about different job options. And I said, I think Culver's will be your best fit option for you. I think you should try to apply for it. And then he had a 2 week trial, and he passed the trial, and they kept him.
Nice.
And then for Jenny, we met at the Olmsted Academy. We had some like couple days worth of talking about employment options for her, and then she sat down with me and wrote down her strengths and skills and talents. And then we talked about what jobs are out there that's available for her. And then I told her, when you get home, you should apply for that job.
Thanks, Nate. I feel like you're also really great at not waiting for people to come to you, but offering your help, which goes a long way, I think. Like I was saying before, sometimes people can be intimidated to come up and start the whole process. But I think one of your strengths is that you'll go up to your friends or anyone you think might need help and offer that, make them feel comfortable enough to get help from you or support. So thanks for sharing all of that. Let's see. Yeah, I'll scroll here. This slide will be sent out, or it'll be in the PowerPoint that will be sent out. So if you're looking for my information, it'll be there. I'll also put my email in the chat. And like I said earlier, the easiest way to get in touch with mentors is usually through calling or emailing me, unless, like in Nate's case, he connects with people that he already knows in the community. And that's just because I often help mentors schedule things. And sometimes like I might just help a mentor start meeting with someone and then they take over the schedule. It really depends. But I like to explain that that's how it works because sometimes people are curious about how that all works. And then that is our presentation. So if anyone has questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat or ask, and we'll be happy to answer them.